think personally one of the saddest things to see happen as a sports fan is when you see a once great athlete, an all-star, a Pro Bowler, an all-pro, hang around too long, not know when to say when, and end up sticking around to the point where they kind of become the butt of jokes and they end up being a shell of their former selves. And I think two notable examples of this currently are Kobe Bryant and Peyton Manning. Now, when it comes to Peyton Manning, surely a lot of you are going to sit there and say, well, I would think, Jeff, that you would enjoy this, that you would love this, that you get great pleasure out of this. And yes, I've never been a big fan of Peyton Manning, that is for sure. And I've had plenty to say about him in recent years in video format, and all of it true and all of it I stand behind. However, it's not something that gives me a lot of great pleasure or joy to watch. I'm not enjoying it at all, contrary to what some of you may believe. Because to me, as a fan of sports, I do enjoy seeing greatness. And for many years, Peyton Manning was one of those players that represented and personified greatness, even though I have my things to say about him. Again, all true and I all stand behind. It's sad to see what's happened. I don't get any joy out of watching what Peyton Manning has become. I mean, this is how bad it's gotten with Peyton Manning in 2015. It's gotten so bad to the point where the Denver Broncos are winning games not because of him, but in spite of him. Just think about that for a second. Peyton Manning's not winning them games. He's more likely to lose them games now or put them in disadvantageous situations where the Broncos can lose games and the defense has to bail them out. That's not the Peyton Manning that we know, especially in the regular season. You're talking about arguably the greatest regular season quarterback of all time. And now it's gotten to the point where his defense and other people have to bail him out in regular season games of all things. We're not talking about the playoffs. Playoffs? We're talking about the damn regular season. Peyton Manning has been so bad in 2015 that there's a part of me that wonders if Broncos fans think that the team would be more of a legit Super Bowl contender with Jay Cutler at the helm. And we all know how I feel about Jay Cutler, but a simple, undeniable fact is that Jay Cutler, even with some of the mistakes he makes from time to time, has overall been a far superior player to Peyton Manning in 2015, and it ain't been close, period. That's how bad Peyton Manning has been. Peyton Manning has been so bad, so consistently throughout 2015, that Broncos fans have to be excited about the news that Brock Osweiler is going to start Sunday against the Chicago Bears and might start more games. Not because of Brock Osweiler being the backup quarterback, and fans always prefer the backup quarterback. Not just because of the fact that Brock Osweiler could be the future and Broncos fans are excited to see what that future could potentially look like. It's more so just the fact from this season's standpoint that it's gotten so bad with Peyton Manning that Denver Broncos fans have to legitimately believe that they have just as much of a chance of winning a title, if not a better chance of contending at least for a Super Bowl championship with Brock Osweiler as the quarterback as opposed to Peyton Manning. It has gotten that bad. The Manning-Brady debate is done. Nobody talks about it anymore. Just sit there for a second and let that sink in. That debate's been going on for over a decade now. And now nobody talks about it. And you can't honestly, legitimately argue on behalf of Peyton Manning in that debate and feel good about your viewpoints or feel like you have any type of credibility or legitimate point whatsoever. That's how bad it has gotten with Peyton Manning. And you could see some of the writing on the wall in the tail portion of the 2014 season. So it's sad. I don't get a lot of enjoyment out of it. You know, and seeing Peyton Manning finish this way, this isn't the way I want to see him go out. From the cynic in me, the way I'd love to see Peyton Manning go out is have his team win 12 or 13 regular season games and then be one and done in the playoffs, because that, to me, is the Peyton Manning that I know. That, to me, is the perfect cap on Peyton Manning's career. Great and dominant in the regular season, MVP type of performances almost every single year, and then he doesn't show up in the playoffs and his teams go home way earlier than they're supposed to. That's how you crystallize and epitomize Peyton Manning's career. This pathetic shell of a man who throws 4 interceptions against the Kansas City Chiefs' god-awful fucking pass defense. That's not how I want to see him go out. So no, I don't get a lot of enjoyment out of this. And the thing is, though, is that I just have never really been a fan of Peyton Manning. I've never really liked Peyton Manning. I'm giving you full disclosure here. It even goes back to his college days. The media at that time, they could sense he was the next great white hope, the next great white hype. He was going to be the guy that would carry the NFL for 15 years to 2 decades. And I think when he was in college, most of us knew that that was going to be the case. But even then, the media was in protection mode, and the media was always trying to pump this guy up, even when he was at Tennessee. You know, he could never beat Florida, but as soon as he left, T. Martin took over as the quarterback for 1 year, and the year after Peyton Manning left, they won the BCS championship. Just think about that for a second. The first year of the BCS, who won it? The answer is Tennessee. Behind who? Some fans who don't know any better probably think Peyton Manning. No, it was T. Martin. They entirely changed the construction of the team and the way they did things, in particular on the offensive end of the ball, and they won the national championship behind T. Martin. They could never get there with Peyton Manning. Let's think about that for a second. It's always protectionism. And over the years, it's always, oh my God, he's so great, he's so fucking awesome. In the regular season, we talk about how we love his gyrations and his control of the game at the line of scrimmage and the audibling and picking apart defenses, yet consistently time after time after time after time, when things go bad in the playoffs, it's always excuse making. It's always somebody else. When Peyton wins a game, he gets 95% of the credit. When his team loses, he gets 5% of the blame, which is quickly shifted, even that additional 5%, onto other components. It's always got to be anything and everything other than Peyton. And I've resented this treatment by the media of him for years now, because there's a clear-cut propaganda pattern in place to protect the golden boy. He's in all the commercials. He's good for the brand. He's Black America's quarterback and all that shit. And all of it's true. But at some point in time, it gets to be where enough is fucking enough. And in this most recent season of 2015, when it comes to the narratives pertaining to Peyton Manning's piss-poor play, I have to say enough is enough. And could the media pick one fucking narrative and stick with it? What's your excuse? What's your defense this time? Peyton Manning has been so bad that even the media doesn't fully know what to do. It's like instead of going with sniper rifle shots, now they're just shotgun blasting and they're throwing everything against the fucking wall and hoping some of that buckshot sticks somewhere on the target. I mean, Jesus Christ. We're going back to the neck injury. We're talking about shoulder being hurt. Now we've got rib injuries. Now we've got feet. We're trying to make him look like the bionic $6 million man. It's amazing that he even could play at any level in the NFL with all these fucking injuries. Oh, give me a fucking break. Holy shit Christ. And even after this game Sunday against the Kansas City Chiefs, where he throws 4 interceptions, look, I don't give a damn how bad the dude's ribs are. I don't give a damn how bad his foot is hurting with the partially torn plantar fascia. I don't give a damn how bad his shoulder might be hurting or may not be hurting. The simple fact of the matter is what we saw on Sunday is just a slightly ramped up version of the Peyton Manning you've seen all season long. So why all of a sudden now do we have to come up with all these different fucking excuses for just how poorly he's played? No! This is like the whole bullshit of when a game goes poorly for Peyton in the playoffs, we try to blame the offensive coordinator. We sit there and talk about Adam Gase, or you talk about this guy, or Tom Moore, or whoever the fuck. No! The real offensive coordinator of any Peyton Manning-led team is Peyton fucking Manning, period. When he's good, that's the narrative. When he's bad, we blame everyone and everything fucking else. And don't you dare say it's not true, because we know that's exactly what the fuck it is. And it gets revolting and it gets sickening. And here now, another game where he's just getting picked off left and right. Not to mention, not only the picks that were there, the picks that could have been there that didn't end up being there. Probably could have had like 6, 7 interceptions in this game. This has been a trend throughout the season. No, the problem is not the fact that his plant foot is hurt, because has that been the excuse for the shitty play all year long? It's not the ribs that are supposedly hurt, because has that been an issue all year long? No, we didn't start really hearing about this shit until he played so badly that he got fucking benched against Kansas City. Now the media's got to go into MSNBC Fox News spin mode in order to try and protect the fucking golden boy. And enough is fucking enough. Pick a narrative and stick with it. No, the simple fact of the matter is that Peyton Manning has a noodle arm to the point where I want to start calling him Peyton Pennington. Except for the fact that would be a disrespect to Chad Pennington, was Pennington with a noodle arm was far more accurate than fucking Peyton Manning has been. Now, the bigger problem is the egomaniac that Peyton is, the guy that wants to have it be about him, which he always has, the guy that always wants control, which is always has, which is why he went to to Denver instead of somewhere else, because that way he could put in his office and run his show his way. And you see that now in 2015. The whole point of bringing in Gary Kubiak was not to do shit the same way that didn't produce a Super Bowl. It was to change things and do things slightly differently, so that way the Broncos, with that much improved defense behind Wade Phillips, their coordinator, could actually win a Super Bowl. But instead, you go a couple of games, and it's like Peyton Manning intentionally is sabotaging the under center shit. He's trying to intentionally sabotage the way Gary Kubiak is doing things. And you want to sit there and talk about the fact, oh, the running game wasn't that good, the blocking wasn't that good. No, I think in large part it was that Peyton Manning wasn't bought into the system, that Peyton Manning didn't want to run that system because he wasn't comfortable with the system. He wanted to do it his fucking way. And of course, Gary Kubiak and the Denver Broncos did the stupid fucking thing, and they acquiesced to this ego fucking maniac. He's been packaged as so many things for so long because nobody wants to actually talk about the truth. But the fact of the matter is, when you are a big-time athlete at that level, you have a certain level of ego. You have to. There is no choice. And to think that Peyton Manning is immune to that is completely and totally fucking ridiculous. That would be like arguing that Tom Brady has no ego. He has a huge fucking ego. Doesn't mean it's always overtly shown, but it's there. Peyton Manning most certainly has one, and it reflects in the way that he wants to control every aspect of his team's offensive game plan. He wants to make it about him. He wants the show to be about him. So, of course, this entire season, now you've got this new system come in, and they just scrap it and go back to doing shit the same fucking way. And all the while, what's happening? Peyton Manning's making numerous horrible decisions every game. I mean, in the Kansas City game, there's a freaking linebacker 6 yards in front of him. He doesn't even see him. Throws it right to him. All throughout the season, so many horrible decisions. It's similar to Kobe Bryant right now. Is a formerly great player who's great in name only, that doesn't recognize their current situation and their current reality when it comes to their skill level and their game. Father Time is, was, and always will be undefeated, and is most certainly proving to be the case with Peyton Manning. So instead of recognizing what he can do and what he can't do, which is largely what he can't do is throw the ball more than 10 yards accurately or consistently, he should be adjusting his game. Instead, he keeps trying to do the same shit. I know as a Bears fan, if Jay Cutler was throwing half of the horrible passes that Peyton Manning was this year, he'd be crucified. He would have already had huge rallies trying to get the guy benched. People would be burning his damn jerseys. But no, not Peyton Manning. We got to sit there and defend this sad son of a bitch until the end of fucking times. I've had enough. This shit's revolting. The simple fact of the matter is, for a guy that's supposed to be such a fucking football genius, he has sure played like a football dumbass this year. And it's about time people start talking about it. It doesn't diminish the fact of the great player he's been for so many years, but it needs to be said in the interest of full context. He has played like a dipshit at the quarterback position this year. And like I said, no offense to Chad Pennington, who was better with the noodle arm, but Peyton Pennington has sucked consistently. And you saw this at the tail end portion of last year. But again, it's always something. Instead of sitting there and knocking Peyton for not choosing to fit into Kubiak's offense and trying to give it a real go, it was like he did it for 2 weeks. Now we want to shit on the offense. Let's go back to the way Peyton was doing it because it's always about him. He's always got to be comfortable. No, fuck that. Largely throughout the course of his career, that hasn't worked when it really matters. So why would the fuck would you go back to doing the same goddamn thing? And now when he plays bad, it's always got to be some injury. It's always got to be some excuse. How about, no, the guy can't read fucking defenses anymore. He believes way too much of what the hell he has and doesn't have in him anymore. And therefore he makes some of the worst decisions and some of the worst throws I've seen from a big-name future first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback that I've ever fucking seen. That's the truth of the matter. And just like with the playoffs last year, when Andrew Luck came into Denver, outplayed him, and the Colts beat the brakes off of the Broncos and dominated them. It's always got to be a narrative. Oh, Peyton had this injury. We didn't hear shit about it until he played like shit. And then all of a sudden, magically, it was the only thing that mattered. And that's why we've always got to excuse it and try to prop him up and say, that's why he played so poorly. And that just makes him even better. No, this year, Peyton Manning has been the Denver Broncos' worst enemy. And shame on fucking him for doing what he's done and potentially putting the Broncos in a bad situation. They've been lucky to get to the point where they're 7-2 because, frankly, based off of how crappy Peyton Manning has played, this team should be 3-6. 3-6. That's how terrible Peyton Manning has been. So when it comes to Peyton Manning and this media crap, That's why I'm glad Peyton Manning will finally, hopefully, walk away mercifully at the end of the season. Because I'm tired of hearing about the guy. And I'm tired of hearing these pathetic excuses and narratives being put out there by the media. Because in large part, it's gotten so bad where the media doesn't even know how to defend him anymore. And all I ask is at this point in time, if you're going to insist on defending the asshole, that's one thing. Whatever. You could do whatever the hell you want. But please, could the sports media pick one fucking narrative, be consistent, and stick with it? Is it his foot? Is it his ribs? Does he have a shoulder injury? No, how about the fact that he just doesn't have any arm strength any fucking more? He makes some of the worst decisions you've ever seen out of a future first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback, and the fact is he flat out sucks now. He is a mediocre to bad, terrible NFL starting quarterback. You want to talk about a narrative? There's your fucking narrative. Now stick that in your pipe and fucking smoke it.